Yes.
Governor, could you just give us a quick overview on your foreign policy?
Sure.
And also address the Libyan issue?
I sure will, yeah. You know, for a governor, I've got an unusual amount of foreign policy, or at least international and security experience. I've been to Iraq 5 times. I've been to Afghanistan 3 times. I've been all over the Middle East, including Israel, Turkey, Jordan, Kuwait, and other places. I've led trade missions to China 3 times, other places in Asia, Japan, South America, Chile, Brazil. I've been to security conferences in Europe, given speeches in Europe, and the like. So I think for a governor, for unusual reasons, I have an unusual amount of experience. My basic perspective on foreign policy, and this is oversimplifying, but in the interest of time, is simply this. You may have learned it on the playground, you may have learned it in business, you may have learned it in sports, you may have learned it in some other walk of life, but it's always true. If you're dealing with thugs and bullies, they understand strength, they don't respect weakness.
Right. That's right.
And so the United States... The United States of America needs to project strength and clarity as to who we are, what we believe, and we need to be able to stand behind that on behalf of our national security interests here and abroad and for those of our allies. Frankly, I'm not overly concerned about what our popularity ratings are in Europe or the Middle East. What I am concerned about is this nation secure?
Right.
And are we respected?
Right.
And so President Obama, first of all, spends very little time talking about these issues pre-Middle East. If you listen to the amount of volume he cranks out in his words, for example, the State of the Union, you know, we're a nation in 2 wars. We have very severe and significant security challenges. He could barely bring himself to address national security issues in the war in his State of the Union. I raise that for this reason. There is only one person in the country who has the platform and the podium to mobilize, educate, raise awareness, remind Americans the importance of these issues. Is it always popular? No. But it's profoundly important. And he needs to step up and lead this issue in a way that's pro-American, pro-security, pro-defense for us and our allies. And until the Egyptian crisis, you could barely get him to address it. I mean, yeah. So on this issue, I would suggest a number of things. One is, we need to make sure we send the message to our allies, there's no daylight between us and them. So when we get to an issue, for example, like with Israel, we don't want their enemies sensing there's a break between the United States and Israel. And early on he was equivocating and pressuring Israel in ways where their enemies were saying, well, maybe there's some daylight between the United States and Israel. We don't want that.
No.
We don't want that. And then number 2, on Libya and Egypt, you know, Mubarak was 82 years old. And so whether it was this revolt, this fall's election, or a health challenge he might have predictably in the next year or 2 in terms of his age, he wasn't long for that position. So hindsight's 20/20. If you look backwards, what was the plan between an 82-year-old dictator and chaos? And if you look back, and the situation unfolds, and you have an incoherent response by the administration. Right. You have the vice president say Mubarak's not a dictator. You have the Secretary of State say the situation is quote-unquote stable. And then she gratuitously adds the Mubaraks are dinner friends with the Clintons. Then you have this Wisner, they have the White House press secretary say it's time for Mubarak to go and we mean yesterday. And then Wisner goes over and whispers in Europe, but we don't really mean it.
And how about dinner?
Yeah. On Libya, we have a confirmed terrorist, a psychopath, somebody who has killed Americans and has American blood on his hands. I think if there's a plausible way to implement a no-fly zone, we should. If there's a plausible way to help those who are trying to defeat and take out Muammar Gaddafi, we should explore those options. And the president, I think, is thinking about it. He's thinking about it. But I would be more forward-leaning than that I think he has been.